Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Corcoran from the University of Wisconsin, Platteville. Welcome, Coach.
Hey, how you doing? Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Doing well. Excited to have you on. We've had a few of your fellow Wisconsin schools like La Crosse, Stevens Point, and Whitewater on, so let's just add to the mix, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, some good schools. So really competitive athletics and all across Wisconsin. So some good Division 3 schools out there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, and the cool thing is you're helping out on both the men's and the women's side, so we'll get some both perspectives here. But um, we're talking early December. Last weekend was you had, at least on the girls' side, you had the GA out at Norco, you had ECNL Kansas City, you had the Raleigh Showcase out east. Like it's college showcase season. So what does that mean for you guys? Where do you tend to spend your time this time of year?
Yeah, so I guess like staff wise, we have Eliza, who's the head coach on the women's side, and then Jesse, who's the head coach on the men's side, and then I'm the associate head coach for both, and then we have more of a stipend assistant on both sides. So we do our best to make sure that we kind of share the recruiting around, especially when it's trips out of the region. I was actually yesterday. I got stuck in Dallas overnight a couple nights ago. I ended up getting back yesterday from Norco, so I was out in. Me and our goalkeeper coach were out in Norco, California, which is about an hour from LA. It's about an hour east of LA for the GA showcase. So super tons of talent out there. We went out there in the summer as well, and got a lot of traction on recruits, especially girls that are going out there from the Midwest to that area to play in the GA showcase. So we did not get out to MLS Next on the guys' side in Arizona this weekend. We'll probably do one of those in the spring. And then ECNL was in Kansas, and we did not do that. We had a choice. We were going to do ECNL in Kansas City, or we were going to go California. And I don't know about you, but I would rather go to California. So we'll do one of the ECNL ones in the spring. Probably head down to Dallas, or maybe the one in Florida in January. That will probably work better for us in a schedule because it doesn't conflict with anything GA wise.
S-
But yeah,
So, and I'm gonna ask this on the girls' side, just because I got a senior daughter, so I'm much more familiar with the girls' side. And
yeah.
it's the same kind of question for the guys. But especially for like a D3 program like you guys, competitive, solid conference, good. You guys are always fighting for it. What? How do you decide between going to, let's say, a GA event versus an ECNL event versus an RL event or
Yeah.
a USYS event or that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's necessarily deciding between them. It's more looking like over the year and saying which ones can we do and where can we hit the teams that we want to see at different points. So, like for example, the ECNL showcase that was in Kansas City this weekend. Um, there's one of those, as I said, in Florida in January. There's another one in February in Dallas, and they're pretty much the same teams that we would watch in Kansas City. Whereas that GA showcase that was in and the Champions Cup that was in California this weekend, it's going to be pretty tough for us to see those teams again until May. So that's the choice. That's the
Gotcha.
choice we made. So, and then obviously USYS is more regional for us. Like we would do more instead of doing more scheduled event. It's more like pop up events, like college showcases that are hosted by the local clubs that we have in the area, in like the Chicago regions or Milwaukee regions. And then also they might kind of double up as some of those ECNL and GA programs that we might see in the Aspire, which is GA obviously, and then the RL programs at ECNL may also take part in those more regional showcases to get more exposure, which is always good to see them there. So, and a lot like the ECNL, GA don't do it on their side, but the ECNL events they double those up. So, like Florida, for example, I think they have one in Orlando, like the 11th to the 14th, and then it's like the 13th to the 16th out in like Bradenton or
Yep.
something, and then Dallas is like, so ECNL do a really good job with that, where you can kind of hit both. From our like, because from a Division 3 perspective, like RL is also important to us, like to be able to see those teams play as well because the top end of that is really good. So to be able to hit both will be good for us. So yeah, it's just about like looking at the 12-month calendar and kind of see, especially, I mean, I have a 2-year-old, I have a family, so being able to like schedule out and see where we're going for the spring. Makes it a little bit easier for me family wise. Um, so I think we do a good job of that, and just making sure that we see what teams are where and hit them all if we can do.
Okay. Well, let's talk timing. When you're going to these events this time of year, how much of it is looking at 26s, or are you done with 26s and you're only looking at 27s? Kind of what's that timeline look like for you guys?
Yeah, so 2026 we're pretty much done. We have 9 freshmen on the women's side committed, and then we have 6 freshmen on the men's side committed. So we're in a pretty good spot both ways. We'll probably end up at 10 on both sides, but we still have roster offers out there at the minute. Um, so we're pretty much done now. If somebody, like for example, if I watched the team this weekend, a U19 game, and somebody popped up and they were a good fit for the program, and I felt like they would like, as a staff, we just felt like they would impact us right away. Then at this point of the recruiting process, we would probably look into it now. But in terms of 2026, like it's more of that like kind of transfer piece, to be honest with you, and add into the roster that way. And then going out to these events at this point, it's mainly focusing on that junior class, like kind of bulking up that junior class on both sides, and then starting kind of like that 2028 cycle. To be honest with you, in the Division 3 world, like we'll watch sophomores and those 2020 those 2010s who will be coming into school at 2028. We'll watch them, but it's more like our conversation with those girls and guys are going to be a lot different than our conversations with the 2027. Like 2027s, it's, if we feel like they're a good fit athletically, it's more visits, and that's the conversation we're having. Whereas with the sophomores, it's more like send us your schedule so we can see you play again, and then maybe we can get you to an ID camp in the summer. And that's kind of like our conversations with those. And then, as I said, 2026 is more like, unless we feel like they're going to be an immediate fit and like they're going to compete right away to get on the field. At this point of the year, we're pretty much done with those 2026s.
Okay. Well, when it comes to the recruiting process, you kind of mentioned camps. So do you do your own IT camps? Do you guys work external camps? How important are they in the process for you guys?
I think super important. And like people who ask me for advice in the recruiting process, I always tell them to make sure that they um like hit the ID camps up of like 4 or 5 schools in the summer. I know it can be an expensive process and it can be timely, like being able to do that as a parent, especially. But like I always suggest, like you get to see coaching styles, you get to see campus, like obviously the coaches get to see you play as well. So you get to see it in that environment, you get to meet the team. So I think ID camps are like really, really important. From our perspective anyway. We do 2 in the summer for the men, and we do 2 for the women in the summer as well. Both day camps, usually Fridays in the middle of summer. Um, and they'll run from like 9:30 a.m. We'll do a session in the morning. We'll do like a tour, kind of program talk, get to meet the players, things like that. And then we'll have another session in the afternoon. And pretty much all 4 of them that we run in the summer will run like that. And then as a staff, we do get out in the summer as well and hit up other camps. We'll do pretty much every summer. I've done the Badgers camp. It's about an hour away. Coach Jones does an awesome job with that, and they get 400 probably within the region there. So being able to do that has been good over the last few years for us from a recruiting standpoint. Other than that, though, like any other like kind of Division 3 program, like we won't obviously attend their ID camps. It's more kind of like the big schools, like the Big Ten schools, the Division 1 schools that are hosting 300 to 400. We'll go do those over the 2 or 3 days. But again, like from our perspective, there's going to be kids there that we're already working with. So just being able to see them play again, see them in a like playing environment, them see our coaching style as well to see if we're a good fit for them is key. So I love ID camps. I think they're great.
Well, whether it's an ID camp or one of these showcases across the country, when you're looking at players, kind of what makes up that hierarchy of things you're looking for in a player, both on and off the field?
I guess a little different on both sides. So on the women's side, we've kind of shifted our attention just slightly. Obviously, we came in. I came in 3 years ago, and Eliza was the head coach 3 years ago. So we've had 3 falls together, and our attention has shifted slightly. Like I think any coach that goes and coaches college, they want immediate success. They want to be able to build something quickly, which I think we were able to do pretty quickly. Like we kind of got a few wins right away. We kind of climbed the conference leaderboard pretty quickly. And I think it was down to kind of the way that we kind of shifted our attention recruiting wise. to be able to bring in players that can impact right away. Whereas now we're kind of in a like more of a position where we're a little bit more stable. We have our classes set. We have 7 or 8, 9 players in each class. Whereas prior it was like we'd have like one in the senior class, we'd have like one sophomore, just because of the coaching changes we were at. So just being at that stability point now is it allows us to focus on specific players that we want and specific abilities that we want within a player. So I think on the girls' side, like athletically, like that's key. Like instead of us, like when we're going through the process with girls, and even like when we speak to club directors about like their teams and coaches, a lot of them will ask like, what positions you're looking for? You're looking for a striker in your 2027 class. You're looking for like a defender. Whereas like for us, it's more focusing on like a player profile. Like how do they fit athletically for us? Like if they can play right wing, like how do they defend? Like could we shift them into a right back? Like I was speaking to a couple of coaches this weekend at the California Showcase. Like my guess is like half of our team at some point during their high school and club career have played striker. That's my guess. Like so instead of like searching for actual players, like we look for more of like a player profile. So like, are they tidy on the ball? Like first and foremost, are they athletic? Like, do they do the basics really, really well when they do it in games? When we see them play a second time, is the way that they're playing very similar? Have they improved at all? Over that time period, like the 6 to 12 month time period, we might see them play again, or are they kind of like staying stable? Because that's important, right? The progression piece. So I think that's the key on the girls' side. Whereas on the guys' side, the process is a little bit later for one, right? Like we were probably done with our women's. Like we had 9 commits by like the end of August, for example. Whereas like we might have had like 1 at the end of August on the guys' side. So the player profiles are a little bit different since we are recruiting them a little bit later. But the athleticism piece has to be there still. With the way that they play, the men's team, again, same thing. They have to make sure that they do the basics right. A little bit more position focused than we do on the girls' side. Like it's a little bit more likely that if we recruit a striker from a club team or a high school team, that they're going to come in and play in that forward role. It might not be like the central striker role, but like it could be more of a winger role. It could be more of like a 10 attacking midfielder role for us, depending on where they're at. But again, that athleticism piece is huge for us. And then yeah, off the field, I think we do a pretty good job of speaking to club coaches and high school coaches. There's always going to be things that you miss. We speak to like high school counselors. Jesse and Eliza do a good job of speaking to even like professors and teachers in high school to just get a real like kind of perception of like an all-around perception of how like a kid is when they go through high school. Again, that same piece is like when you saw them play like as a sophomore, or like when they were in your class as a sophomore, what are they like now as a senior? Like have they improved? Did they change as a person? So I think that's key off the field as well. We recruit like academically for us. It's not a secret. Like Wisconsin Platteville is majority engineers. Like I think like 40% of the school, we have like 8,000 students at the school, and 40% of the school is engineers. So it's like it's kind of like its own school in itself. And usually they are very much like high performers for us on both the men's and the women's side. So obviously if we're at a showcase and there's somebody interested in Wisconsin Platteville, it's pretty likely that they want to study engineering as well. So that piece as well, because like bringing in students academically, Matt, like if you get an engineering student that is really, really good soccer and finds a good home and feels like it's a good fit, like being able to retain those student athletes for those 4 years and having them as seniors, if they're engineering students, is pretty likely, as long as obviously they have a good experience. So the engineering piece is huge for us as well. So I
Okay.
guess that's 3 points. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. You've been there a few years now. Kind of what have you found to be just awesome about the school? Something stands out, something that maybe we wouldn't even know by going through the website.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the engineering piece is huge for us. Like having 40% of the school as engineers is a big recruiting point. I'd say probably 50% of our men's roster. We carry 34 on the men's side at the minute, and probably 17 to 20 of them at any given time are engineering students. We have 8 different engineering majors. So that's a pretty big, attractive piece of the school. And then on the girls' side, we have 34 at the minute, and probably 7 or 8 of them are engineering students as well. So again, it's an important piece of the school. Um, we're obviously a state school, so being able to get that price point right for a lot of student athletes that are within our region is key. So if you're inside of Wisconsin, obviously you get in-state tuition, so that's big for us. Because at some point you're competing with like even junior college prices at that point when you're recruiting in state. And then we do have a Minnesota tuition price as well, and then we have Iowa and Illinois. So it kind of like hits kind of like our borders, and then I believe Indiana's might be in there as well. They get their own price, and then everything else is considered like out of state, basically. So international students, we're pretty. We don't really have any international students on our side. But yeah, the in-state tuition is key for us. I think like on the women's side a little bit more, we have probably 7 or 8 transfers currently on the roster, and pretty much all of them show up to our campus and that are coming from those Division 1 and Division 2 schools, and pretty much all of them show up on our campus and say that these facilities are better than where I'm at right now. So like the facilities is a huge recruiting piece for us. The school, the administration do an incredible job of giving us coaches everything that we can in terms of strength and conditioning staff, athletic training staff, all the facilities that we have as well, like the accessibility to them as well. We have a practice turf field, we have a game turf field, and as I said, incredible weight room as well, to be able, like for our athletes to be able to use. Like the Wisconsin Badgers come in, for example, like for like 10 days to 2 weeks in the start of August and do their preseason training camp at Platteville. So like I think one side is like the athletic facilities are good enough for them, but like everything else outside of that, like the academic piece is like because they use like the classrooms to be able to do their film sessions. They use like all of the dorms and the housing, all that on campus. So just the facilities and the amount of attention that the administration of the school put into those is key as well. So yeah, engineering piece is huge. Facilities is huge for us.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's walk us through, a typical week, say in the heart of that conference season. Tell me about when our classes, meals, practices, game cadence, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So typically our girls team will practice first. So I'll be on the field we'll go 3:30 till 5 typically with the girls, and then 5 till 6:30 with the guys. So I'm typically on the field from 3 till 6. Our student athletes will have classes. I think they start at like 8 and they go until 2:30, 3 o'clock. We make sure that all of our guys and girls are done pretty much by 3 o'clock. Some of them, especially if they're like seniors and they're like biology majors, they might have like a lab that'll run over a little bit, but pretty much all of them will be done by 2:30, 3 o'clock. That'll allow them to get to the athletic training room, maybe get a lift in quickly before they head out to the field. And then, especially with the girls, but like the girls program are done at 5 o'clock every day, since we have that like practice turf field, so we can stay away from football since they're on the game field. So the girls can go get ice baths after. They have enough time to do studies, be part of clubs, which is also like the student athlete experience. Like being able to be done at 5 o'clock every day if you have a typical practice day is awesome. We do have a soccer suite on campus as well, so the girls during the day, like they don't show up to like their classes and go back to the dorms and then go back to classes and then go back to the dorm, or sit in like the student lounge. They will come and hang out in the soccer suite, which is great. We have it actually used to be the old athletic training room on campus. We got a new athletic training room, so it used to be the old athletic training room. So you kind of walk in on the right hand side. It's like the girls area with like coaches' offices with like TVs, couches, lounge areas, tables, and then on the left side it's kind of like there's like fridges with some stuff in there, and then again coaches' offices, and then a guys' area where like if you walk into the guys' side at like I don't know, probably today I think United are on this afternoon. If you walk in this afternoon, there's like 10, 15 guys watching like the Manchester United game in there. So like having that experience as well as a student athlete to be able to like be with the team all day and hang out and like us as coaches as well, like being able to connect with the student athletes during the day as well, and not just like them seeing us at practice and then seeing us again 24 hours later, and then seeing us again 24 hours later. Like we're able to connect with the student athletes in a different way as a college coach, which I think kind of builds like a more of an organic culture, I would say, throughout the roster as well.
All right, awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit more about those teams. You mentioned the roster size. I forget whether it was for the guys or the girls, but what are the two roster sizes you're trying to hit each
I
season?
would say, yeah, mid 30s. Like our goal every year is to make sure that we have like 8 to 10 graduating. Like if we have 8 to 10 graduating every year, we feel like we're doing a pretty good job. And then 8 to 10 freshmen, and then here and there we'll bring in transfers like 1 or 2 a year. So it
Okay.
kind of varies.
All right. And then talk to us about the style of play that you guys are trying to play on kind of both sides there.
Yeah. So guys, on the guy side, I would say it's kind of a hybrid. Like we've shifted a little bit this year. Like our formation shifted slightly, depending on the game and depending on who we played against. Um, Style of play, like if I'm ever touring somebody and like a parent's like, hey, like what kind of style? Like I just say like winning style. Like that's like kind of my answer. Um, so like especially like on the guys side, there's going to be games where we absolutely control the game and we have like 25 shots and we're gonna have most of the possession. Whereas there's going to be other teams that we play with in our region and even in our conference where it's going to be the ball's going to be in the air. It's going to be a ton of set pieces. Um, you've got to be really, really physical in these games. So I don't know. I just like we're not naive enough to think that we can step on a field with really, really good teams and be able to like really, really like control them. So we feel like we obviously do a good job in every game of competing like as a roster, especially on the men's side. Like we compete with everybody, but we set the team up in a way to win, and that's like our goal as a coach and staff. On the girls' side, we are pretty unique in the way that we play. We're very athletic. We're very forward thinking. We're very direct in the way that we go forward. We utilize set pieces a ton. We train them all the time, um, and we recruit that way as well. Like so being able to just like recruit those student athletes that fit that system. Um, Again, within our region, I don't think it's a secret. Like we don't play a typical back four. We play more of like a sweeper stopper. So we'll play if they're playing like other team are playing, say 4-3-3, we'll play three markers and then we'll play a sweeper in behind. And that's kind of how we set up our back four. And that sweeper is more of like can be more of like a ball playing center back. Most of the time they're pretty available on the ball, but also like very athletic, be able to like double up sometimes and be 2v1. And then again, be that like kind of direct piece for us as well. And then our wingers are super quick. Our forwards are pretty direct and pretty aggressive as well. And then kind of like the talk that we have on our recruiting as well is like unless you can defend 1v1, like and unless you can attack 1v1, like it's gonna be really, really, really difficult for you to get on the field. Because again, that's kind of our system. So whenever we watch and we recruit players, like we identify them athletically when they go forward. So like if you're a winger and you have the position and you're out on the right wing and you 1v1, like are you going to go backwards to your right back and like be really safe, or are you going to be really aggressive and drive at them and take a risk? Whereas defensively, that piece as well is like if your left back's going forward, like our expectation of you, like as a right winger, you have to go with them and you have to track them. So a lot of 1v1s, like we do that a ton in training. Like we'll do a lot of 3v3 stuff, 4v4 stuff. And I feel like as a program, it's worked pretty well for us. So
Okay. Well, Coach, really appreciate all the insights. Going to leave you with one last question, and that is if you had one piece of advice for anybody going through the college recruiting process right now, what would that be?
yeah, good question. I would say like the big thing for me is like leave your options open as wide as possible. Like I know we, especially on the guy side, like we deal with a lot of the guys that are like have the kind of D1 or bust mentality going into the recruiting process, and there's a ton of good players and there's a ton of good schools that they would be good fits at. But like the piece of advice I've give is like find somewhere that you can see yourself like for 4 years. So like we've lost girls and guys with this as well, but like if you're not going to play soccer at that school, like, are you going to stay? Like, I think that's like the big piece, because like if you're hurt, if you get injured, again, if that soccer piece doesn't work out for you, like, are you going to lose like 15, 20 credits along the way and have to pay, you know? So I understand like the transfer piece, and having to leave schools like that. That happens all the time. Like, we obviously recruit student athletes to transfer as well, and find new homes. But like for going into it, especially like from the Division 3 perspective, like going to a school where you can see yourself being there for 4 years, and again, like, if you are not on the soccer program, like, do you feel like this school would be a good fit for you?
Yeah, absolutely agree. And as a former D3 player myself, gotta love it. It's a great spot for folks. So,
Where did you
Coach,
play?
I was at Catholic U out in DC.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice,
Well,
cool.
well, Coach, really appreciate it. Good luck battling your Wisconsin winners. And
I appreciate it, Matt. Thanks.
if you get down to Bradenton, that's where I'm at. So give me a shout.
Okay,
All
cool.
right,
Yeah, I will do. Yeah, but I think that's middle of
January,
January.
early to mid January.
You
Yeah.
know, for the
Oh,
girls. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll hit you up.
All right, sounds good. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.